What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, and on the phone, we got Avienne from Vintersea. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Alex. Hi.
Doing great.
To be here.
For the listeners wondering, just in case you hear it, they're doing construction on my apartment because nothing says facade treatment like a pandemic happening right now. So just forgive the audio. But it's so great to have you here, Avienne. I really enjoyed Illuminated. It was one of my personal favorites to come out in 2019. I want to know what the thought process was going into the making of this record. Was there a preconceived idea? Was there a lot of improvising? How did this record come to be?
Just like most ideas, it just when it came to be, and when a lot of good ideas happens when your mind starts to wander. And some of the best places where your mind wanders when you're in the shower, right?
Yeah.
So I was playing Horizon Zero Dawn. And then I was like, I'm playing too many games. I need to take a shower. And I was taking a shower. I was like, wow, what a great. Like, I really want to build on that, and it was actually inspired by that game.
Wow, I did not know that a video game influenced this at all.
Oh, it's really good story, and I love good stories. So, and graphics.
Yeah, of course. And now is the best time to play video games, right?
Oh yeah, anything and everything.
Yeah. Well, I've always thought that there was like a lot of every song really I thought had its own sort of vibe. Like Spawn Awakening was different from like Illuminated, which is very different from like Befallen. Like, is it fair to say you guys like to experiment a lot with the songwriting?
Yeah, just like any story, there's high points, there's low points, and each song is representing the storyline, part of that storyline that we've written for this album. I actually did go through the whole story, and I could literally spend an hour talking about it, but it's on our Facebook. I did a live video on it once, and there's a chart and everything, so that's why a lot of the songs sound really different. It's because the peoples at that time are experiencing very different things during their story.
Mm-hmm.
In the progression.
Obviously, the story determines like the lyrics at all, but do you feel like maybe the story and the concept could also determine the outcome of the music itself as well?
Oh, most certainly. Before we even start writing, of course we're constantly messing around in the practice room, and sometimes music is born that way, and that's really fun, and it's awesome when it happens, but it's a very conscious effort to write something. So before we start really getting into nitty-gritty, start structuring songs, start writing the lyrics, the story is put forth to everyone, so that if everyone says it's good to go, we get the green light, and then we work more off the concept to create the music.
Mm-hmm. Is the concept open to interpretation, or are you trying to engage the listener into what the story is about?
So there is a storyline in this album, but it is we've heard so many of our listeners say that the vibe of this song is really resonating with what I'm going through right now, and that's the beauty of anything you're listening to or watching is how it relates to that person, and I'm sure it can relate differently to different people, and that's the beauty of art, really.
Yeah, well, I thought the title track Illuminated, after this whole lockdown happened, I thought the title track Illuminated had a lot more context because of that like narrating voice that says we are playing a game or something like that. Like, I found that really unique. It almost kind of went along with the times that we're living in.
Yeah, you can definitely say that. It starts out with people that are grown and incubated in a pod. So they're stuck in this pod and being raised by a AI called Gaia, and Illuminated is where the people from the pod start breaking free from Gaia, from the pod, from constantly wanting to escape and grow out of that place. So it's not just about the storyline; it's what the meaning and the overall bigger meaning that we touch on in our lyrics, and I think that can be interpreted in many ways, and it has been, which is really cool.
Is there any aspect of your personal life that could be invested into this album as well, or has Illuminated kind of been like just you're almost like portraying a character in a way?
I think this album has a little bit of all of us. When we write stuff, it's not something that like of course we're thinking about the characters and the people and the different players in the game, but a lot of how they're formed is based off our own experiences.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Do you feel like in order for a listener to get like a better understanding of the narrative of this album, they should start off with Spawn Awakening and end with Befallen, or can a listener almost approach this album from any different angle?
Those are the two ways to do it. There is a progression to the album, and that's why there's parts of the album where there's a little bit of a atmospheric part. If you're listening to songs just one by one, that may seem a little bit out of place listening to the song, but if you're listening to the album as a full picture, then we wrote it in a way that it hopefully all clicks together. A lot of these songs, because they represent such different moods and such different storylines, of course you can go in and listen to the songs individually, but either way, as long as you're listening to the songs, we're happy. You know?
Yeah, I always for some reason need to start off with Illuminated before I go on to the rest of the album. I don't know why though.
Maybe you dig the song.
Yeah.
It's one of our favorites off the album, which is the reason why it was the first song we wanted to put out there before the album even came out.
Mm-hmm. Do you almost kind of like look for inspiration when it comes to writing lyrics? Like obviously, you know, this is inspired by a character and a story arc from a game, but like, do you almost feel like, do you need to look for inspiration, or do ideas just come out of the blue sometimes?
I think it's a very natural process. I tend to gravitate towards things that are interesting to me at that time. During the time of writing the album, I was very into post-apocalyptic world. So it's like past Fallout times. It's like, what if the whole world was destroyed after that? And then you're going back to like a tribal era, but with all these new with all these what we consider modern technology that's already basically antiques to the post-apocalyptic people, and it's just fun to think about like where we go from here, and that was really interesting to me. The band was on board, so that's how it all came to be.
Yeah, I almost can picture like the iPhone being like a relic. Like just imagine like seeing an iPhone like in an Indiana Jones like tomb one day.
Oh yeah, definitely. So there's this movie. I think it's called Mortal Engines. It's very video game like. I'm not sure if it's based off of a video game. It could be. I wouldn't be surprised if it were. But it's also very far into the future where there was this one little exhibit, and it's called the Screen Era, and it was just all like iPhones and tablets and monitors, and this is the era we're living in right now. So it'll be really interesting, and it's interesting to mull about where would people be like 100, 200 years from now when the technology has so vastly improved. I mean, we could be seeing screens in our eyeballs. Like, who knows?
It's honestly insane. Like, just imagine 100 years from now, if we're still around, 100 years from now, like, people are going to be looking at our iPhones and look at us like cavemen. Like,
yeah, the iPhones will be the new paperweight. Like, they all end up being paperweight anyway, just like how the cell phones from the 90s, those big bricks, now they're they're relics now.
Yeah, your phone only took 200 gigs back then? How could anybody live like that?
Yeah. And you just look even up just a few years when we had the click wheel.
Oh, God. I feel old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had the click wheel too.
In terms of the style that you play, because like I thought that, you know, the style of Vintersea has elements of like avant-garde, some black metal, some prog metal. Like I couldn't really pigeonhole it on the periodic table of subgenres, as I call it. Is it fair? Like, is there a specific reason why, in order to address the stories and the concepts that you do, you choose to play the style of music that you all play?
It's all based off the story. It's all based off the emotion that we feel, but it's not something that we ever force. We don't ever, because we don't ever try to like force out, okay, this is how we want it to feel, this is how it's supposed to sound. It goes off, okay, what we're trying to say here, and we just play with it, and then it turns into, and then it just, when we lay down the tracks, even though you're not sure how the bigger picture looks like, when we start laying things down, that's when you can start shifting things around and having fun with it. And it's all part of the process where when you're starting to put the enter like paint the picture, and then you just get the picture at the end of it, and that's how a lot of our songs came to be.
Yeah, and when it comes to like executing the material live, I'd imagine you have to almost kind of like portray a character in itself, right?
Oh, most definitely. I'm always thinking about always letting the emotion of the song and the meaning just like waft, like just absorbing all of that energy, and then releasing the energy to the people when I'm on stage, and also performing these songs anywhere, on stage, in the practice room, bedroom, bathroom.
Yeah. Well, do you almost feel like when you're playing this live? Obviously, I haven't seen you live yet, but like, are you playing the whole album in full in your most recent set list? Because if you're not, like, don't you feel like something could be missing?
Yeah, it totally depends on how many minutes that we get to be on stage, because we do have a lot of our listeners have been on this journey with us since our first debut album, Gravity of Fall. So it's really about the balance. Anytime we play Illuminated, if we have that enough time to play the whole album, that's, to us, like, we do feel that's how it should be played, because that's how it's played on the album. But it really depends how much time we get, and hopefully we have enough time whenever we play any show.
Yeah, of course. You ready for the most difficult question of the whole interview?
I don't know the question, so I'm gonna say maybe.
How do you know when a song is done?
Oh man, you just got it. You just got to do it. At the end of the day, you want a song to be ready for print. So when we're writing the album, it helps to have certain deadlines, because even listening to the album, it's so tempting to be like, oh, I just want to change this little bit. I wish I added this one thing here. I wish I did that differently. And with anything that we release, like, it's so easy to get into that space, that mind space. But at the end of the day, you still have to release the music. So until we set ourselves goals and timelines, that's the boring but true answer, and we continue working on it to the point of obsession. and when it comes to the time that we have to get it ready and it's studio time, that's when we're gonna do it, and then once it's done, it's like, okay, that's the best we can do at that time, and this is the whole song.
Definitely.
And we feel good, like, listening to it too, of course.
Of course. Going back to, post-apocalyptic elements and video games influencing the album, will you ever write a song or maybe even an album on Zelda Breath of the Wild?
Oh man, so I actually haven't gotten into the Zelda games. Wow. I'm a very late bloomer when it comes to playing games. I started playing on the PS4 because and then that's how I came to Horizon, and like I played like Witcher and all. But yeah, I tried playing the Zelda games, and I can see there's a nostalgia for people that grew up with the games. But yeah, I haven't picked it up, and yeah, maybe my journey in that is a little bit different.
Yeah, it's taking all the strength in the world not to hang up the phone now. But no, I'm kidding.
Oh no, okay.
Well, but PlayStation, The Last of Us, how about that?
I tried playing The Last of Us. I don't have the patience. I get so, like, I like to go a little aggro. And I wouldn't be surprised if, halfway through this conversation, you hang up on me. But yeah, I've tried playing it, and maybe I have to pick it up again because it's I don't have the patience to sit there and be like, God, to wait for this zombie to walk by, and I only get this much of stuff to work with.
Wow.
Maybe I'm just not cut out for like survivalist games.
You're from Portland, Oregon. You guys are the most patient people I've ever met. You should move to New York City.
Oh man. Well, no, I've lived in Portland for a bit, but I'm actually Malaysian. So maybe Malaysians are a little bit more rushed to not as patient.
Yeah. Fair enough. And that led me to the final question of this interview, actually. But coming from Portland, Oregon, I've interviewed so many bands from that area now. It's absurd. I've interviewed Yob, I've interviewed Bellwitch,
nice.
I've interviewed I just interviewed this prog metal band called Veo.
Yeah.
Yep, and I interviewed Idle Hands last year, who's amazing. Is there almost I'd imagine that there's a great scene you guys are very active in at the moment, right?
There is a scene. It's a very close-knit scene, and full of everyone there is, in the scene is awesome.
That's awesome. And I imagine it's got to be easier to start a band up there, right?
Not when I first moved here. So when I first moved to Oregon, I went to Oregon State University, and that's in Corvallis. It's a little college town. It's 50,000 people when school is going on, but it's maybe 10,000. It's empty during the summer, so it's just full of students. And I was thinking, I'm in this new place. I'm really excited to meet people, to be able to go to shows with them. And I think I got lucky and ended up making music and being the band with the only 5 or 6 people that listen to metal in the whole area. So yeah, it was really hard to find people that like the same music.
Yeah, you guys are stuck with each other.
I guess so. I feel like we've gotten to the point that we can say anything to each other, and we're fine with we can piss each other off and make up in a few seconds. So I mean, at that point, yeah, we're pretty much family at this point.
That's awesome. So
we pissed each other off and made up enough times for us to be family.
That's when you know the relationship is good.
Oh yeah, that's when you insult your brothers out of love.
Exactly. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Really enjoyed talking with you. Is there just anything else with Vintersea you would like to promote? Obviously, thanks to a virus that shall not be named at the moment, I don't want to give it any promotion. Is there just anything with Vintersea you would like to promote? Can we be expecting? Will you ever come to New York one day?
Oh my goodness, we'd love to play on the East Coast. Our guitarist is from Maine, actually, so we've yet to do that. We've had tour plans this year that have to be postponed, but keep looking out for our stuff, and telling your friends about our music, and you can get all the latest news on our social media, so Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. So yeah, we're still working on stuff. It's been a little bit interesting working on the material when we're all a little bit more further apart. But we're still working on the stuff, so definitely keep an eye out.
Yeah, and last but not least, I think Illuminated predicted the future. I just want to say that right now, based on what you told me.
Oh man. I'm pretty sure Horizon. Horizon Zero Dawn predicted the future.
There you go.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, everybody. Vintersea, be sure to pick up Illuminated if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.